Coming up on today's edition of Trailblazer Weekly, the football team made history on Saturday with a monumental win over number 6 Colorado School of Mines. We'll chat with quarterback Michael Sanders to break it all down a little bit later in the show.
Plus, the volleyball team is still on a roll and advanced to the RMAC tournament semifinals. We caught up with head coach Robin Felder and middle blocker Lauren Gamble after last night's win to preview this weekend.
It's all coming up on today's show. Trailblazer Weekly starts now. We are live inside the CEC TV studios on the Community Education Channel, Radio Dixie 91.3 FM, and the Dixie State Athletics YouTube page with another edition of Trailblazer Weekly. I'm Carrick Segmiller, and joining me, as always, is Drayson Ball.
Of course, I am here, Carrick, and can you believe it? Already November. We'll be eating turkey 2 weeks. Can't believe it's already here, Carrick, and it's a great show today. I'm excited to be here.
Another edition of Trailblazer Weekly, and we're going to jump right into our weekend recap, although you are, Drayson, that it is just 2 weeks until Thanksgiving tomorrow, and we'll talk more about that. We're actually not going to have a show the week of Thanksgiving. It'll be a hard-earned break for all of us here on Trailblazer Weekly, but until then, we are going to the show start today. Our weekend recap, and we start with football. Slash senior day win for number 6 Colorado School of Mines. Yeah, it was both senior day and homecoming. As we continue to talk about this football, a day it was. You and I both had the opportunity to be there and to help call that game, and it's a game, honestly, that I will never forget. 52-45 win for the Trailblazers over number 6 ranked Colorado School of Mines. The Trailblazers set 3 records and tie 3 others. Those records that they set, passing yards, single game passing yards, combined total offense yards in a game, and single game receiving yards for a single receiver, and then tying the single game passing touchdowns record, the receiving touchdowns record, and Trayvon Watson with his interception in the 4th quarter tying the Dixie State career interceptions record. Just a fantastic atmosphere, an exciting game, and the Trailblazers, it was back and forth. It was tied for quite some time in the second half, and they find a way to get it done. And this season, after a 2-game losing streak, it feels like it's right back on track, and they'll have another opportunity to make more history this week in Alamosa, Colorado, to take on Adams State, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. But what a game it was. Like I said, you and I were both in the booth for that game, and I think we talked about after the game, we just said it's a game that we will never forget to be there and being part of history.
Yeah, I mean, to say it was an unbelievable game, Carrick, I feel like that's an understatement. This was just an absolutely incredible football game and experience, and you know, the cool thing about it was you and I were just sitting in the booth for like an hour after the game had ended, just talking about what our feelings were and how just incredible it was to be a part of that atmosphere. Obviously, it was an incredible win for the football team. They played excellent in all aspects of the game. You know, we said on the pregame of that, before the game, they had to have played a perfect game in order to win that, and they just about did play a perfect game, in my opinion at least. They had an excellent game plan coming in. They executed offensively. They didn't allow their defense to give up big plays like they had previously in the season in a few different occasions. Michael Sanders was really the key for them offensively, obviously, as the quarterback. Threw for 553 yards, an unbelievable outing for him. And he seemed like he was just very, very comfortable, not only in the pocket, but finding multiple different receivers. Obviously, you see, DeJuan Dancer had a huge game. Xavier Smith had a really good game as well, a few important catches. There was just a lot of things going correctly for the Trailblazers in that game. And like I said, to say it was an unbelievable game seems like an understatement to me.
Yeah, in some ways, there just aren't words to describe what we witnessed, and we're really not overstating this. It'd be difficult to do that. I'm comfortable in saying it. I said on the broadcast on Saturday that this is the biggest win, and that's why I used the word monumental in the opener of today's show. Dixie State had never defeated a team in the AFCA top 10 before until Saturday. Just the second win over a top 25 team, never had defeated a team in the AFCA top 10 until Saturday with the win over number 6 Colorado School of Mines. There's a lot to talk about in this game, so we're going to stick with it as there's not as much going on in Trailblazer athletics right now anyway until basketball gets going here later this weekend. So we've got a little extra time to talk about this, and I want to break it down. You mentioned that the Trailblazers had a great plan going into this game, and they really did, and they executed that game plan both offensively and defense. Specifically, offensively, though, they knew coming into the game, Colorado School of Mines had one of the best run defenses in the country. Dixie State has been having a little trouble getting that run game going for one reason or the other anyway, so they tailored an offensive game plan around Michael Sanders and DeJuan Dantzler and Isaiah Wooden and Xavier Smith and Devin Osborne, and they were able to go out and, like I said, threw for 553 yards. This was a Colorado School of Mines team giving up, between 250 to 300 yards through the air already, and Dixie State was able to exploit that. They took advantage of that. It did look, though, at the start of the game, Colorado School of Mines had the opening kickoff, and they marched down the field and scored a touchdown on their first drive of the game. And you thought for just a minute, okay, here we go. They had their way offensively. What's going to happen? Dixie State never even had to get the ball offensively to tie the game up. Trayvon Watson, 92 yards to the house in a play that seemed a little bit slower than most kickoff returns for a touchdown. The play continued to go and go and go, but he was able to have just enough momentum to dance out of a couple tackles inside the 10 and get into the end zone. And for me, that was a huge turning point early in this game that kind of took some of the wind out of the sails of Colorado School of Mines early on, and it showed that Dixie State was going to compete and they would not be pushed around on their home field.
I agree. I mean, I think the return by Trayvon Watson kind of sent the message to Colorado School of Mines that, hey, we're here to compete. We're not going to come in and do what you've done to the rest of the conference and the rest of the teams you've played this season. We're going to compete. It's our senior day. It's our homecoming. And obviously, they did just that in the win. And obviously, also, how good was Trayvon Watson? He was unbelievable. He played a tremendous game. We had him on the show a few weeks ago, and he played an unbelievable game. Not only the touchdown return off the kickoff, he had an interception late in the game. He was flying all over the field, and he really anchored that defense. Let's not forget, the Colorado School of Mines came into this game as the number 2 ranked passing offense in the entire country and the number 1 offense overall in the country. And that defense played very, very well. Obviously, if you look at the stats, Cameron Mayberry, their All-American running back, he had a tremendous game. So you obviously kind of think, oh, well, that's kind of expected. But if you look at the receiving core, they didn't allow that dynamic receiving core to get the amount of yards that they're used to getting. Obviously, Riley Hoff had a pretty good game. Yeah. But other than that, the Brody Oliver, their All-American wide receiver as well, he left with an injury. But they contained him for most of that game before that injury. And they played extremely well. They basically said, we're going to let Cameron Mayberry run for as many yards as he wants, but we're not going to let them get out and pass the ball on us, and that's what they did. And that's really where the game was won for me, was with that tremendous defense, obviously, with the offense to counter it.
Yeah, you can't just talk about the offense in this game. Obviously, the Trailblazer offense was huge, but this Dixie State defense was huge as well. And if you look at the stats, Dixie State, there was a few tweaks that had to be made after this game, and so it's a little different than it was on the post-game show of the broadcast. Dixie State actually ended up being outgained in this contest, but the Trailblazer defense made huge plays when it needed to. We talked in the pregame show about needing to force some turnovers. How about 4 of them? That'll do the trick. Forced 2 fumbles, or at least recovered 2 fumbles, and had 2 huge interceptions. You mentioned Trayvon Watson, and then what I think decided on was our play of the game. Abraham Reinhart getting the interception after the missed field goal. I mean, the momentum, it seemed like, had left the Dixie State sideline. Who knows what happens if that game goes to overtime? But Dixie State is able to win this game because Reinhart gets the interception, and then the Trailblazer have another shot offensively. And Michael Sanders did what he'd been doing all game long and just dropped that thing right in the basket. And Xavier Smith, probably one of the easiest catches he'll have all year. I mean, he was on the run, yeah, but he beat his defender and he was wide open in the end zone, made the catch, and was able to just keep running and you know, had some fun with it afterward. The arms were out as he was running back down the track, you know, kind of looking like you know, a bird flying or an airplane with the wings extended, and just having fun with it. And why not? And Coach McClure, you were right there, just yards away from him when he got the water bath and got the water dumped on him, and they lifted him up on their shoulders, and why not? Biggest win in the Division II era of this program, so why not celebrate it? The tough part, and we'll talk to Michael Sanders about this as well from a player's perspective, how do you go from that high on Saturday to having to turn around and then go play one more game with more history on the line? That they'll figure it out, they'll be okay, but an opportunity to get to 7 wins for this Trailblazer team on Saturday, which they've never done before, and which, you know, maybe a couple of weeks ago after 2 straight losses, we were sitting here thinking, you know, can they get to 7 wins? And they turned around on all of us and said, yes, we can, and yes, we will. And what a huge win over Colorado School of Mines, and they played a great game as well. Michael Sanders, should note, RMAC Player of the Week for the 2nd time this season. We've got him up for a couple of National Player of the Week awards as well. We'll see what happens as the week progresses. DeJuan Dantzler, 11 receptions, 241 yards, 3 touchdowns, single game receiving yards record, tying the single game touchdown reception record as well. So congratulations to all of Dixie State. Coach McClure and his staff had a great game plan, and the Trailblazers were able to execute that game plan on Saturday. So congratulations to them. Huge game, but volleyball has the opportunity to make history as well as they continue to play in their first RMAC tournament. You betcha, Carrick. And they beat UC Colorado Springs last night, and they earned a berth into the RMAC tournament semifinals with that win. You know, it was a very good game, match overall, and they won the first 2 sets, got out to an early lead, and then, you know, they dropped that 3rd set, but you got to kind of expect that from a competitive standpoint. You know, the UC Colorado Springs backs up against the wall, but eventually the Trailblazers do come out and win that 4th and decisive set to take the 3-1 victory. They now take the long trip to Golden, Colorado, and will play at the host school, Colorado School of Mines, where they will match up with Colorado Mesa, a big rivalry game as well, a team that they've beat twice already in this season. But we talked to Coach Robin Felder. We'll get to that interview later on in the show. We talked to her last night, and she basically said you can't overlook a team like that, even though you've beat them twice in a row, and that's going to be a really good matchup, and I'm looking forward to it. Well, you talk about it a lot. It seems like maybe we talk about it more in basketball too, because that's one of the sports where you play each other, you know, a couple different times. That's the other sport where you play each other a couple different times, and then again maybe in the conference tournament, should you both make the conference tournament. It's tough to beat a team 3 times in the same season. You sweep the regular season series with the team, and then you got to go and match up with them in a semifinal in the conference tournament, and that's not always the easiest of tasks. Colorado Mesa, you bet your bottom dollar, will be ready for this game. Dixie State will be as well, but Colorado Mesa will look at it and say, you know, we want that conference tournament title, a team that feels like, you know, we just dropped a couple of games here and there that we felt like we should have won, or we could have been up there, you know, sharing the conference championship with Dixie and with Mines as well. So they'll be ready to go. Both Dixie State and Colorado Mesa in the 4 and the 5 spot respectively in the South Central Regional. I think we're probably safe to say that regardless of the outcome of that match on Friday, both of those teams are probably in. But Dixie State can do a lot for itself in the South Central Regional, regardless of whether they win the RMAC tournament or not, with a win on Friday over Colorado Mesa. They've got some of the best, you know, defense, middle blockers, attackers in the conference. So it will be a tough game, but as we've seen Dixie State do all season long, they think they'll be up for the challenge. And they're backed by the defender of the year in Lauren Gamble, like we mentioned in the open, and that's been the key for the Trailblazers all season long, is they're anchored defensively, and they're very tough to beat, especially when they have all things clicking like that. Also got to mention co-coach of the year, head coach Robin Felder. She's done a tremendous job all season coaching these girls in the first
the first season in the RMAC, and it's been a tremendous showing for the Trailblazers. They're off to they've had a tremendous season, obviously, going into the RMAC tournament semifinals. I like their chances going forward, especially to finish out the year.
If you ask me, you can drop the co from that. No slight against Colorado Mesa. I just don't see how you beat a team twice during the year, and then you have to share the Coach of the Year title. But that's water under the bridge at this point. We're excited for her. It's her third such award, twice in the Pac West, and now in the first season in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. You come in and you're the Coach of the Year, and what a leader for this team to be able to do exciting things. They've already set history this year, the most regular season wins in a season, and now they've tied the most single season wins, and with just one more win, it'll be a season that they've never achieved that many wins before. They're already in a situation where at just 4 losses right now, you're guaranteed to have the least amount of losses you've ever had in a single season. The fewest losses. The previous was 7. Dixie State's at 4. So you figure they're going to play at least one game in the RMAC tournament and at least one game in the South Central Regional too. And so they will not surpass that mark. So congratulations to the volleyball team. Should mention, along with those awards, Lauren Gamble, with her Defender of the Year award, joins Megan Trainer on the first team All-RMAC. Second team honors Sid Brandon and Mallory Marshall. So congratulations to those players as well. We're running short here in the segment, but do just want to quickly mention before we go to break, the women's soccer team closing its season last Friday in the RMAC semifinals in Golden, Colorado. It seems like Mines is hosting just about everything in the fall. It was a blustery day in Golden, and it was Dixie State taking on the host, Colorado School of Mines, and it was a 1-0 loss to the Ore Diggers. Kind of what I call the quirky goal midway through the second half. I think it was really windy. I think the wind had a little something to play with that. Dixie State keeper tried to clear a ball, and it just kind of squirted weirdly away, and it was just kind of a giveaway. Went right to the Mines forward, and they were able to beat the keeper. Dixie State had a couple of golden opportunities to equalize and maybe even take the lead. After that, it was not to be. Dixie State 12 shots, 4 on goal, just couldn't find the back of the net. That coupled with Angelo State kind of Cinderella-ing, is that a verb? Can I use that like that? Cinderella-ing through the Lone Star Conference tournament. They were unranked in the region rankings. They win the Lone Star Conference tournament. Dixie State, sitting in that 6th and final spot in the South Central region, is bumped out. They're the odd team out. That's happened to basketball before in the past too. They do not make the South Central Regional, but still a young team, a very bright future. Nothing to hang their heads about in Coach Lucy's first year. You can see with the young team that he has, the foundation that he's building, and he's even said before too, we're good this year, but just wait until next year and the year after. This team's going to be really, really good.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, there's certain intangibles you can look at this team. They've got the scoring with Whitley Johns. They've got the defense. We saw that all season long because how many shutouts did they have? And they've got all the intangibles that you'd want in a team going forward. I have the utmost confidence that they'll be a tremendous team going forward, and I can't wait till next season starts.
Should also mention real quickly before the break, women's basketball opened its season last night with an exhibition up at BYU in Provo. They hung close through the first quarter, and even into the second quarter, BYU pulled away in the second half for an 83-56 exhibition win over the Trailblazers. London Pavlica, 13 points on 4 of 6 shooting from the field, 2 of 3 from the outside. Rochelle Blazard, 11 points, and she was also 4-6 from the field. Those are both new players. Pavlica is a freshman. Rochelle Blazard, a junior transfer from USU Eastern. So this season is looking up. The Trailblazers, we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, have their first regular season game on Saturday, hosting Northern New Mexico College. Like I said, we'll break that down later in the show. We've got to take a timeout. When we come back, Dixie State senior quarterback Michael Sanders joins us. We sit down with Sanders to talk about the game on Saturday, talk about some of the adversity that he's been through this year, and also look ahead to that Adams State game as well. How does a team come off the high of beating the 6th-ranked team in the country and then turn around and still have to play another game on Saturday? All that coming up with Michael Sanders here on Trailblazer Weekly after this timeout. The Dixie State football team is fresh off its biggest win in the D2 era as the Trailblazers defeated number 6 Colorado School of Mines 52-45 on Saturday. Here to help us break it down is senior quarterback Michael Sanders. Michael, we appreciate you stopping by. I know it's a busy time, getting ready for Adams State on Saturday. You've got team meetings and practice to shuffle around. We appreciate you being here and stopping by and really helping us break down what was an extraordinary performance on Saturday. So thanks for being here. And first of all, let's just dive right into it. Let's talk about the game. You had a game similar to that a couple of weeks ago at Chadron State, where it just seemed like everything you were throwing, you were connecting on. That game, and then going into this game, is there a certain feeling that you have when you're going into those games that you just know that I'm going to have a big game today?
You know, we had a good game plan going into this week, and going back to that Chadron week, we had a good game plan for that one as well. You know, you never know how it's going to play out, but I felt that we had a great week of practice and had a lot of confidence going into the game, and I felt like our team had a lot of confidence, and, you know, Coach Rowland called some great plays and we executed, and ultimately we just made a lot of big plays down the stretch that, you know, pushed us over the edge.
We noted on the broadcast several times, Drayson and I call the games together on the online stream, and we had one other guy with us on Saturday as well, but we all noted on the broadcast just how patient and how calm and collected you seemed back there in the pocket. Of course, your offensive line was giving you plenty of time to throw, but I mean, what's going through your mind on something like that? Obviously, it's just, I'm sure it's click, 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 you know, checking your reads, but you know, are you thinking much, or is it more just force of habit at that point as you're surveying your options and seeing your guys downfield?
You know, a lot of thinking's pre-snap, and then once that ball snapped, it's kind of reacting and trusting what I saw pre-snap and trusting the reads. But yeah, like you said, the offensive line, when they're giving you that much time to throw the football, I mean, you get pretty comfortable back there, and it almost turns into a 7-on-7 drill. And, you know, like I said, our guys just made a lot of big plays.
Obviously, Michael, the numbers speak for themselves. 31 completions on 48 attempts, a record 553 yards. That's a school record for yards in a game. 5 touchdowns as well. I mean, the numbers are just off the charts, and obviously, you know, you had an amazing game. The thing that stands out to me is your longest pass was only 41 yards, which may, on any other day, might be significant, but when you throw for 553 yards, normally you see one that's 80 or 90 yards, but you were very, very consistent in the length of passes as far as being able to read the field at different lengths. Talk a little bit about how it is to have a wide receiver core that you can trust in and be able to be consistently spread the ball throughout multiple different receivers.
Yeah, you know, obviously some of our guys had some big days, like DeJuan, and Xavier had a big day as well, but honestly, whoever's out there, I have a lot of trust in to make the play for me, and I think the way our offense works, we really don't try to, you know, put guys in there and try to force feed the ball to them. We're just kind of calling plays, and whoever's in is going to make the play, and we really believe that. And our guys have done a great job of that all year, of just whoever's up, make the big play for us when we need it.
You mentioned DeJuan. We'd be remiss we didn't mention DeJuan's numbers as well. 11 receptions, 241 of those 553 yards, and 3 touchdowns also. We talked about in the broadcast almost every big play, every time there was a third down, or maybe a third down and long, even a fourth down, I think there was one in there. It seemed like every crucial play or every step in that game, you connected with DeJuan Dantzler. What did he mean for you in that game? Did you guys go into it saying, hey, we think we have a matchup we can exploit? Was there something like that before the game, or did you just kind of feel it in the game that he was having an awesome game?
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing well most this year, and when we got into the game, it just kind of kept working out where he was my first read, and he gets open a lot. So it makes my job a lot easier, and then he can go up and make the big play for me and come down with the football. So, you know, it's one of those things where we get flown in the game, and he just keeps winning on his routes, and he keeps making the plays for me. So it kind of becomes one of those things where, you know, it's kind of second nature just to look at him, and he's winning, so I'll give him a chance.
Take me through, you know, the roller coaster of emotions, I'm sure, not only just you, everyone on the sideline. You drive down the field. Unfortunately, you know, the field goal attempt sails wide. And so there's that, you know, drop in emotions, and then Abraham Reinhart gets the interception, and you know that you're going to have at least 1 or 2, 3, maybe 3 more shots at this thing. In fact, we noted on the broadcast, okay, now they can kind of sit back and do what they want to do and throw the ball around rather than being crammed up against the goal line. But take me through that roller coaster of emotions and what's going through your mind as soon as you see Reinhart get that pick and you know that you're going right back out on the field.
Yeah, well, as soon as I saw the field goal just miss, I started telling our guys get ready for overtime because, there's only 30 seconds left. I thought they'd probably just run the ball out and get into overtime with no timeouts left. So I was telling our guys, stay in it. We got overtime coming, and the next thing you know it, the ball's right in Abe's hands and grabbing my helmet, and we're back on the field, and then we called a great play, and Xavier won on his route and made a great play for us. So it's just you got to try to stay calm, and obviously that's a big jolt of energy when we see that interception. But yeah, you got to try to stay calm in those moments because, like I said, I thought we were going to overtime for sure.
Of course, earned your second RMAC Offensive Player of the Week award in the last 3 weeks. Not only did you set the single game passing record, but it was your record that you broke from a couple of weeks ago. So congratulations on that. But obviously you're in season. I'm sure those awards are probably kind of nice to think about. How much does that actually mean, or is it just kind of like, oh, that's nice, move on to the next game?
It's cool getting the awards. I kind of think it's a bigger deal for our offense as a whole because obviously it takes a lot of people for one player to have that kind of game, and obviously I'm not doing that if the offensive line's not holding up, and like we've talked about, the receivers making big plays and the running backs, opening it up. So I think it's just kind of cool in general for our offense to kind of get the recognition that we've had players that have made big plays for us, and it is cool. Probably after the season I'll enjoy it a little bit more, but right now we're just trying to get ready to go win another football game on Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely. And let's step away from just that game necessarily and talk about the year in general. You're here in 2017, had a red shirt after playing a year at Idaho State, having a year off in between. Then you had a red shirt last year. So it had been quite a while since you've been on a football field. You put in all that work, get into fall camp, and the first day of fall camp, you're injured. And at first, it's like, is he going to be able to play? Is he not? You're able to get back. I think Black Hills State was your first game back. You end up throwing a game-winning touchdown in that game. We want to talk about roller coaster of emotions. You work your tail off to get back in this game, overcome some adversity, and then you throw the game-winning touchdown in your first game back. Maybe take me through that play and what you're thinking. I know that's kind of cliche to ask, but what's going through your mind in that moment right there as you work through all that adversity, you're back on the field, you throw the game-winning touchdown. Yeah,
it was just a crazy game there also. Trent Darns played an awesome game for us. He got banged up there at the end. And then they told me, you're up. We need you here to take us down the field. Trent can't go. So, I was just thinking whatever I got to do to win this game to help us, finally, be able to play for Dixie State. It's been such a long journey coming. I just wanted to help us win it any way I can. We get down the field, guys made big plays for us, and then we kind of got them on a little no play, try to get them off sides, and they jumped, and then just threw it out to Connor and let him make the play. So it was definitely a whirlwind of emotions and a game I'll never forget also.
Speaking of the great season you've had so far, obviously you can't get a whole lot higher than beating the 6th-ranked team in the country, but you still have work to do in Adams State this weekend. Looking forward to that game. How do you kind of get out of the mode of like, hey, we just won the biggest game in this school's program's history, to okay, now we got to go win one more, and you still have the opportunity to set another kind of benchmark with 7 wins in a season. That's never been done in the Division II area. So how do you kind of recover from that huge victory and going to Adams State thinking, hey, we got one more job to do?
Yeah, I think it's going to start with leaning on the other seniors and leaders on the football team to kind of, get everybody back under control this week at practice and make sure they understand we still have one more game, and having 7 wins in a season is a very big deal for this program. So I think the leadership on the team is strong enough where we can kind of get everybody back under control and kind of put that game to the side for now and get focused on an Adams State team and be able to go on the road and win a big game again.
Obviously, we talked about it. Carrick mentioned it a minute ago. You're a transfer from Idaho State, and obviously, you had a pretty successful time there. And just wanted to ask you, what about maybe Coach McClure or this football team or Dick St. George? What about this program did you want to say, hey, I want to uproot myself from Idaho State and come down here to Dixie? What about this program made you want to do that?
I just think you can feel the buzz and the energy when you come to this campus and you come to St. George. It's just a great place to live. The university's thriving. It's growing so quickly. You can see with the athletic program how fastly we're growing and all the big stuff happening with us. And, Coach McClure just had a great vision that I kind of believed in, and I trusted him, and I trusted the staff here to come here and hopefully leave an impact on this university and the athletic program and the football team in specific.
Well, that you certainly have for sure left an impact on this program and all of us, just seeing kind of what you've had to fight through to get back to the field. I know it's been inspiring to me, so I thank you for that, for your example and your courage and overcoming the things you've had to overcome. Let's wind this thing down with some fun. Let's have some fun. Everyone that comes in, we like to play some rapid fire questions and just get to know you a little bit better. So let's start with maybe favorite football player. And let's go specific. Favorite quarterback in the NFL. Who's your go-to guy in the NFL right now?
It's got to be current player right now or all time?
Let's go current first and then all time.
Current, I'll go with Aaron Rodgers for sure.
Okay.
I love watching him play. He's one of the best to ever do it. And then of all time, Peyton Manning for sure.
Oh, that's a good pick. I'm
Can't go wrong
a
with
big Peyton Manning fan myself. Yeah. What about teams? Do you have a team right now that
Arizona
you follow?
Cardinals, for sure.
That's the
From
hometown
Phoenix,
team, right?
Yep. Yeah. Been a Cardinals fan my whole life. We're not doing too well this year, but stay true to my team.
But you got, Josh Rosen. You just released Sam Bradford, so that's Josh Rosen's job. Got to be happy about that. Let's get your Super Bowl pick for this year. Obviously, there's a lot of good teams. Saints are just beating the Rams. The Rams are pretty good. Patriots are always good. Who do you like this year for the Super Bowl?
Man, if the Saints could play every single game at home, I think they'd be the for sure pick. But it's hard to go against Tom Brady and the Patriots. They always just seem to find a way to make it there and get the job done. So I'll go with the Patriots.
Patriots. All right, we'll hold you to that then.
One last question about the game. You completed that game-winning touchdown pass to Xavier Smith. He makes the catch. It wasn't on camera, but a lot of people still saw it. You kind of dropped to your knees and pointed up at the sky. What was going through your mind at that point, just to know that at that point, they were going to get the ball back at least for a few more seconds, but at that point you knew you pretty much had it wrapped up. Yeah,
I felt like the game was over at that point. I feel like we just we had the game locked, and it's just so much emotion, especially on senior day. Our team fought so hard. I felt like everybody in our program fought so hard. The coaches worked their butts off all week, and the players just gave it everything we had. So just a lot of emotion, especially with the year that I've had personally in the team. Just to get that win was something special that I know I'll never forget, and I think a lot of guys on the football team will never forget as well.
Well, it's a pretty incredible story, if you ask me. We ought to put together our own type of, like 30 for 30 type story about it, because it's been that kind of a journey over the redshirt year and this year, getting in and being able to play. So our time is gone here in this segment, but we appreciate you taking some time with us, and just know that we're all pulling for you, and we're going to be watching that game in Alamosa on Saturday with great interest, and hoping you can come back with that 7th win and leave another mark on this Dixie State football program.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So, thanks so much.
Thank you. We got to take that break. After the timeout, Drayson and I had an opportunity to stop by the women's volleyball match, the RMAC quarterfinal match last night. We will chat with the head coach, Robin Felder, who was named co-coach of the year, as well as defender Lauren Gamble, who was named RMAC Conference Defender of the Year. Our conversation after their game last night with them right after this timeout on Trailblazer Weekly.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
And welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly. We are inside the Student Activity Center after the volleyball team's 3-1 win over UC Colorado Springs. The volleyball team actually making their way currently over to Golden, Colorado for the semifinals and final rounds of the RMAC tournament. That's why we're here in the Student Activity Center filming this interview tonight. We're excited to be able to have head coach Robin Felder and middle blocker Lauren Gamble with us. It's been quite the week for Dixie State volleyball and for you two individually, but we'll talk a little bit about that as well as the team as a whole. First of all, congratulations on the win tonight. Let's break that down first. Obviously, you take the first 2 sets. What was a little bit different, Coach? We'll start with you in that 3rd set than in the first 2 sets and then the decisive 4th set.
Yeah, I think Colorado just came out a little bit tougher. They had their backs against the wall, and they just got some momentum going their way. They had some big blocks and some big plays, and we just got a little bit rattled. Then our ball control kind of fell apart a little bit, but luckily in set 4 we were able to kind of get back on track and get the win.
Of course, always fun to play in front of the home crowd. Talk about how loud and just how much of a factor that, you get those football players in here, you get all the other teams and the fans supporting. How big of a factor is that in here inside the Student Activity Center?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we love about the SAC is that it's close. Everybody's right on top of everybody. And when we have the football team and the basketball team, I mean, it's just loud and it's amazing. I'm so grateful for those guys for coming out. But really, our fans have been awesome all year, completely rowdy, totally setting the stage for us in the SAC to be successful.
Coach, now you obviously head off to Golden, Colorado, face kind of a rivalry game against Mesa once again. Obviously, always a good game against those guys. What are you kind of looking forward to that game and going forward into the conference tournament? And obviously, most importantly, the Mesa game, though.
Yeah, I mean, we've just been saying we need to win one game. And tonight it was we got to beat Springs, and now we look on to Mesa. So I think the biggest thing with Mesa is, yes, we've already beat them twice, but it's the playoffs. Anybody can beat anybody. And so we're just looking forward to seeing them again. We know what they do. We've played them already, but we've got to play our game if we're going to beat them.
How easy is it to game plan against a team that you already played and beaten twice? Obviously, a different game, a different match, it can always end up differently. But how does it help, having that experience, and then also how much does it help having a four-time, maybe even more, losing count now, defender of the week in Lauren Gamble over here? How much does that help you?
Yeah, I mean, when we played Mesa last time, their strength is definitely in their middles, and that is why we have low. And so I think last time she had an epic 11-block game. I mean, she just blocked so well. And against the best middle in the conference, she was the all-conference player of the year. I mean, Lowe just completely annihilated her last time we played them. So we're confident in what we can do, but we've got to just play consistent volleyball.
We're here inside the Student Activity Center with volleyball head coach Robin Felder and with middle blocker Lauren Gamble. Lauren, let's bring you into the interview. Excited to have you here. And first of all, congratulations. Drayson mentioned, how many Defender of the Weeks you had, and that's all culminated into a Defender of the Year award. I'm sure you've got bigger and better things on your mind right now with the RMAC tournament still going and the South Central Regionals looming here pretty closely. But first of all, congratulations on that. Just talk about what that means, not only to you, but to bring that award back to the team and to know that the defense has been a staple of this team all year long, and you're able to bring that award not just to you, but back to the team.
I'm just so excited to get that award. It literally means so much. And to have my team back me up on it, they all were so congratulatory of it, and it's just so awesome.
Of course, we had you on the show, I think, after your first Defender of the Week award, which seems like forever ago now. And now after, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, like Drayson said, we lost count. We've got you on the show here today. What is it that you like about playing defense so much? Obviously, there's people that get the kills, that get kind of the glory, and then, you're playing defense. What do you like about playing defense and making those stops so much?
Well, it's just so fun to be able to shut down their hitters. Even like the middle for Colorado Mesa is the best middle in the conference, one player of the year, and just to completely shut her down is almost better than getting a kill myself, just to shut her down.
Obviously to receive, the Defensive Player of the Year award, you have to be good, but you have to be consistently good. And I think a lot of players can be good for the first half of the season, the second half, or individual games, but you've been consistent throughout the entire season. How have you been able to do that, and kind of what factors have gone into that?
I think that getting extra reps has helped a lot. I come in with the setters and get extra blocking reps, extra hitting reps, and I think that's helped a ton, just getting that extra little bit.
Talk a little bit about, I had Coach embarrass you a little bit, so I'll have you embarrass Coach a little bit. Talk a little bit about how much Coach Felder has helped you this season and to be able to, perform as well as you have.
She's helped me so much, especially with my confidence. I feel like that's what I kind of lacked last year, was just confidence with blocking and hitting and everything, but I think she's really just helped me develop my confidence as a player, and she's been such an awesome coach for me.
Perfect lead into to the next question, and it's not just your players bringing in some of the individual award. Coach, you've won the Coach of the Year award, co-coach of the year, if we're going to have to be technical, but in our mind, you are the Coach of the Year here inside the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. What does that mean to you to be able to do that in the first year in the conference?
It's exciting. I mean, it really is a testament to the program, and just honestly, I told all my assistants, this is ours, this is not mine, because they all put in so much time, so much effort, from my managers to my assistants to just everybody. It's totally a group effort, so I'm just so grateful for everybody.
What makes this year's team special from where you can see it in your vantage point as a coach. Obviously, you've coached many different teams, had many different successes, and now this team is going to rank among the best of those teams, tying the single season win mark tonight, and an opportunity to do more going forward. What makes this team so special this year?
Yeah, I think I've had teams in the past that I've always kind of been like, are we going to bring it tonight? Are we not? And I just never have a doubt with these girls. I'm like, she's a fighter, she's a fighter, she's a fighter. So, we talked earlier this season about who would you want to go to war with? And it would be this team 100%. I mean, these girls just don't buckle under pressure. When the pressure gets higher, they perform better. So that's a good feeling when you're headed into some big games, big crowds, just important things, that I've got a team that's going to go to war.
Coach, you mentioned it. This team has been, amazing all season long, and that's a tribute to you and your staff and obviously the players. How far can this team go? Obviously, you have loftier goals than, just winning one match here in the conference tournament. How far can this team go? What is their kind of expectations going forward?
Yeah, I just told them in the locker room, I don't want to overlook anything, but when I look at the top 8 teams in the nation, I think we're right there. We've got the defense, we have the hitters. It just is a matter of performing when we need to, and that really is the difference between a championship team and a non-championship team. Is when the pressure's high and the stakes are on, can your team perform and play well? And I've just got kids that do that, so I feel really confident moving forward. Who knows what can happen, but I think I've got the kids that want it.
If you had to say, I feel like I know what you're going to say, but if you had to kind of pinpoint maybe in one word or one phrase what's going to be the most important thing going forward, what would that be?
I think for us, it's just, we talk a lot about just mental work and mental training, and we play in red a lot, which is just aggressive and intense and feisty, and sometimes we kind of lose our heads a little bit. So I think moving forward, we need to play in blue. Blue is just focused, confident. It's this zone where we're just firing on all cylinders, but we're not kind of losing our heads. So moving forward, nothing but blue.
Let's bring Lauren back in here, as that we're getting a little short on time here in this segment, but a couple more questions for Lauren. Not only have you played well here behind us here in the Student Activity Center, but you've played well on the road this year too, and that's been one thing about this team, is that it doesn't matter where you're playing, you've played well. What does the team do to stay loose, to stay ready to play on the road, and some long bus rides and here in the RMAC? What does the team do to be ready to play while you're on the road?
Well, we're always goofing around, having fun with each other. I think the team bonding, the team chemistry, that's really where we get that, is on those long bus rides and stuff. So that's really where we come together as a team.
I'm familiar with some of those bus rides, having traveled with the football team for their first 2 years in the RMAC. So I'm familiar with some of those, and I know that they can be quite lengthy. I know that you're probably excited to, we would probably rather played here, but probably excited to be able to go back to Golden, Colorado, and hopefully can get one of those matches that slipped away back. Is the team excited to be able to, obviously, to get through to that title, you're going to have to beat Colorado Mesa and then probably Colorado School of Mines one more time. How excited is the team, Lauren, to be able to continue going forward?
We're so stoked to play them again. It's revenge time for Dixie State. It's going to be awesome.
All right. Well, we appreciate you two taking some time with us after the match tonight. I know we maybe cut some post-match talking with family and friends down, but we'll save that for after we bring home some hardware next week and get ready for the South Central Regional. But volleyball head coach Robin Felder, as well as middle blocker Lauren Gamble, joining us here on Trailblazer Weekly. We appreciate their time and wish you the best of luck in Golden, Colorado on Friday and Saturday. Yes, I said Saturday because we're expecting to see that second day as well. So big thank you to you two, and good luck to the volleyball team going forward. We got to take our next break. When we come back, we are going to wrap things up with a weekend preview, look ahead at this weekend's Dixie State games, and put a bow on the show. There's more Trailblazer Weekly right after this.
Another show is almost in the books, and you know what that means. It's time to put a bow on today's show with a look ahead for a weekend preview, starting with volleyball. The Trailblazers head to Golden, Colorado for the RMAC tournament semifinals and finals. Should they get there, they will face off against Colorado Mesa on Friday, a matchup that we've anticipated all season long, and it's certainly lived up to the hype in both the two matches earlier in the season. Obviously, the Trailblazers victorious in both of those games. But like we mentioned earlier in the show, Carrick, tough to beat a team 3 times in a row, especially in the same season. And Colorado Mesa, a formidable foe in the semifinal matchup. Trailblazers will need to play a very good game in order to reach the finals of the RMAC tournament.
Oh, there's no question about it. The first 2 times these teams played, first time was here at Dixie State. The other time was on the road in Grand Junction. So they proved that they can beat this Colorado Mesa team anywhere. Now they get to play the game on a neutral site. Although Dixie State has to travel much farther to the game than Colorado Mesa, they should be ready to go still. They've proved, like I said, that they can beat this team pretty much anywhere they play them, and they'll need to bring their A game to this game on Friday. No looking ahead to the conference championship title game on Saturday, and looking ahead to a possible rematch with Colorado School of Mines. Really, you look at the possible opponents for that championship game, though. I just said that we weren't going to look ahead to it. We can. They can't. They got to beat Colorado Mesa first. Should they advance the volleyball team to the final on Saturday, they'll be playing either Colorado School of Mines or MSU Denver. Both teams with which I think the Trailblazers have a bone to pick because they feel like they should have won the game against Colorado School of Mines in Golden, and then you end up tying and sharing the conference title after dropping a game to MSU Denver inside the Student Activity Center, which was a rarity this season. They just did not lose inside the SAC. That was the only loss, in fact, inside the SAC for the Trailblazers this season was to MSU Denver. So I think Dixie State has plenty of motivation going into this weekend. It will be tough to get out of that semifinal round on Friday, though. If there is a team, like we talked about earlier in the show, that's up to the task, it's this team. Coach Felder will have this team ready to go. It's that whole... what was it with the Golden State Warriors a few years ago, 72 and 10 or whatever, don't mean a thing without the ring. Or maybe that was the Chicago Bulls way back in the day. But a great regular season is not going to mean much if you bow out early in the RMAC tournament. And they have lofty goals. Coach Felder told us on that interview that they feel like they match up well with any team in the country. And so they'll be tested on Friday, and hopefully they'll be able to get through that into the title game on Saturday. If they get to that title game, I think they're pretty much a lock to get into the South Central region, although at this point I think they're in anyway at number 4.
Yeah, and it's always a good thing to have something to play for at the end of the season. Obviously, you have a team that's very, very motivated right now in this women's volleyball team. They're going into this matchup, like you said, with a lot of kind of revenge. Lauren Gamble talked about that in the interview we just did in the last segment. They have some revenge on their mind, obviously, looking forward should they reach that finals matchup against MSU Denver or Colorado School of Mines. Not only that, they still have something to play for. Now, you can obviously right now they're the number 4 seed in the South Central region rankings, but if you go through this tournament, you beat Colorado Mesa on Friday, and then you play the winner of Colorado School of Mines or MSU Denver. If you win that match as well, if you win this RMAC tournament, you could possibly bump Colorado School of Mines down from that 3 spot, and then you would have a better seeding there going forward into the South Central Regional. So that's something that you can look forward to and play for as well. And like we've seen all season through, all through this season with this volleyball team, they are determined and they are very, very tough to beat. And I would not want to play them if I was any one of these 3 teams we've been talking about in this segment. I wouldn't want to play them going forward in any sort of capacity, whether it be home game, neutral site, wherever. I wouldn't want to play these guys.
One thing that's certain, there's that saying with brackets, the quarterfinals went just straight chalk or Sharpie, however, whether you write it on a board or on a paper, the top 4 seeds all won their games. So you've got 1 playing the 4 and the 2 playing the 3. And they're the, Captain Obvious over here, I know. The 4 best teams in the RMAC are the 4 teams that are left. So you're going to have very, very entertaining matches, 3 of them, the 2 semifinals on Friday and then the title match on Saturday. It's going to be very, very entertaining, and one that Dixie State was really not that far off from hosting this thing. But stay tuned. We'll have all the updates for you on that at DixieStateAthletics.com, also on Twitter at Dixie Athletics. We'll have all the updates, so follow us and stay with us throughout the weekend. We'll also have live stat and live video links on the volleyball schedule at DixieStateAthletics.com as well, so that you can watch those games and follow along and keep up just like the rest of us. So good luck to the volleyball team as they embark on their first trip to the semifinals in the RMAC tournament. Let's transition to the football field with just a few minutes left here in the show. Dixie State, after their monumental win on Saturday against number 6 Colorado School of Mines, they will close the 2018 season on the road with a battle against Adams State in Alamosa, Colorado. They load up the bus for one more long RMAC bus ride to take on the number 1 passing offense in all of Division II. This Adams State Grizzlies squad, a very high-octane offense, throws the ball just as well as this Colorado School of Mines team that the Trailblazers just defeated. The one difference is Adams State scores a lot of points. Like I mentioned, they're top 10 in scoring offense and leading the nation in passing in Division II. However, they rank dead last in scoring defense in all of Division II as well, giving up just over 40 points per game. So there's yards to be gained, points to be scored against this Adams State team. That's why the Grizzlies, if you look at their schedule, they've played almost every single one of their games they've played. Doesn't matter who they're playing. It's been a good old-fashioned shootout where it's, like a 55-52 type game, and they've been on the winning end of those, and they've been on the losing end of some of those games. And no doubt, it's their senior day. They'll be ready to try and send their team out with a win. Dixie State, though, an opportunity to get that record 7th win. They've never won more than 6 games as a D2 member in the regular season. They hope to be able to clinch that on Saturday. Yeah, and there's a lot to play for. You mentioned the chance to get to 7 wins on the season. That would be a monumental accomplishment as well. But not only that, a few personal records. CJ Luongo is needing just a handful of yards to become Dixie State's all-time leading rusher. I'm confident he'll be able to do that. He just needs, what you probably know the number more than I do. It's right around 50.
50 yards.
Somewhere. I mean, it's not exactly 50, but right around there.
Right around there. And I'm confident he'll get that going. Hopefully that can propel the run game that's kind of been lackluster in the last couple of weeks going forward. Hopefully the run game can propel them, and then obviously their defense, which has been pretty good all season. Hopefully they can stop that high-powered passing offense. The good thing about that is, like you mentioned, is that they just played the number 2 passing offense in the country. Now they have to, play the number 1 passing offense in the country as well. So hopefully they've got a good, blueprint as to what they need to do going into that game, and hopefully they can execute it like they did last weekend.
I like what you mentioned about CJ Luongo. Coming in on that rushing record, I'm confident that he'll do it on Saturday. When you look at what teams have been doing against Adams State on the ground, this is a Dixie State team that is been trying to get that run game going again, and in this game they'll have that option of run and pass because this Adams State defense right now is giving up 508 yards per game total offense. Through the air, 257, and on the ground, 251 yards per game. So there's opportunity to draw all sorts of stuff up and to be able to excel both on the ground and through the air. And I hope, this would take a game of over 200 yards rushing. We haven't seen one yet this season. CJ Luongo is also, 200 and some change away from Dixie State's first 1,000-yard rushing season. I mean, it's enough past 200 that, it may not happen, but if he gets loose and that running game gets going, if it's that whole mantra of if it's not broke, don't try to fix it, then who knows? He could go off. He could do that as well. But with some of the opportunities to get that run game going, I expect CJ Luongo to have a big game on Saturday.
And what a way to end the season with back-to-back victories to finish for the football team. But to the basketball court now, as the women's basketball team opens the 2018-2019 season at home this Saturday with a matchup against Northern New Mexico College, an NAIA opponent. Carrick, we're all looking forward to the basketball season rolling around, and obviously with the women's basketball team hosting their opening matchup at home this Saturday with a matchup against Northern New Mexico College. It's going to be a great atmosphere, a great game to get going, and obviously with a team that's loaded like this with talent, I'm looking forward to what this season has in store for the women's basketball team.
Yeah, Coach Gustin has really been able to build the team that he wants to have here at